No one, especially the Secretary of Defense, should be discussing these things on an unsecured platform. Mr. President, this is personal for me. I flew combat missions off of the USS Midway in the first Gulf War. We treated this kind of information like lives depended on it, because they did. I had to walk out to my aircraft on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier dozens of times, often in the middle of the night, to carry out strikes just like this. And if I later found out that the Secretary of Defense had been this reckless with the details of my mission, I would have been pissed off.
Unbelievable. We had this thing, the Operation Family Secrets, the Hegseth Chronicles, where we're just making some jokes about Hegseth. And, well, it was aimed at aficionados and national security blunder fans. Would you believe it? We only made it a few hours ago. Already it's out of date. Operation Family Secret, the Hegseth Chronicles, we now have to update. You know, where the official line between family chats and secrets blow into some comedic masterpiece. The family affair. Because just when we thought, as I said, the saga couldn't get more crazy, Defense Sec Pete Hegseth decided to, I can't believe this, share sensitive military details about the March strikes on Yemen's Houthi militants in a Signal group chat titled Defense I-Team Huddle. The participants, his wife Jennifer, who's a former Fox News producer, his brother Phil, a Pentagon advisor, and his personal lawyer. Because nothing says secure communication like discussing classified operations over a family group chat, as you don't. Well, I don't think you do. As you know, this isn't Hegseth's first Signal slip-up. Previously, he accidentally, well, him and Waltz or somebody included journalist Jeffrey Goldberg in a Signal chat discussing military plans, leading to widespread criticism all over the place.
Ultimately, the buck stops with the President of the United States of America, which is why I made clear to President Trump yesterday in my correspondence that the Secretary of Defense should be fired immediately if he's not man enough to own up to his mistakes and resign in disgrace.
Now, with this second chat, it seems Hegseth is determined to redefine, well, operational security. One message or screw up at a time. There is no way he's going to continue. I'll call it now. Hegseth will be out. Gone. You're fired. The repercussions have been swift, clearly now. 4 officials in Hegseth's inner circle have departed amid the leak investigation, and the Pentagon is reportedly, I don't think it's reported, I think it's true, in total chaos. Former Pentagon spokesperson John Elliott described the department as, get this, plagued by dysfunction and mismanagement. From the top down, it appears, suggesting Hegseth's tenure may be nearing its end. Again, it's not nearing its end. He will be out. Gone. Literally. That's it. Walk of shame back to Fox News or anything. The use of Signal, a non-secure messaging app to discuss classified information, clearly has raised legal concerns everywhere. I think there's a lawsuit that's been filed by American Oversight, alleging that officials, including Hegseth, violated federal record-keeping laws by using Signal for sensitive communications. Well, that's being polite about it. Putting troops' lives at risk is another way. We'll continue to monitor the unfolding drama of Operation Family Secrets, the Hegseth Chronicles. But remember, in the realm of national defense, perhaps it's best to keep family group chats reserved for, I don't know, holiday plans and pet photos. Seems a bit obvious. Anyway, may your classified information remain secure, and please, keep it out the way of any Timu Does game show host meets Defense Secretary, more commonly known as Pete Hegseth. or more commonly known as Pete. What the
DOJ and FBI seems happy to take the word of Biden's lawyers, which is why it does feel like it's so much different than what happened to Donald Trump.
Well, look, unless the FBI is paying those personal attorneys, they shouldn't be taking anybody's word but their own investigators in the DOJ.
No.
I mean, that's their job. Unless they're, getting paid. And if they are, that would be our money. So maybe we go deeper. I don't think they are. But what else would be the reason for why at this point you don't tap every place he's ever been since he left office as a senator 15 years ago, since you know some of the latest documents date back to then? Why aren't you now going every place he's been? And by the way, who else has been with all those papers? Maybe you have 1,000 places you need to go now, depending on how many hands touched them.
Yeah, I mean, he is the president of the United States, which does create complications. But it also increases the urgency. If the top man in the job handled classified documents this flippantly for that long, why was that the case? Was it really that he didn't know? Because when you take something out of a skiff, if you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing.
You had to sneak it out.
And you're moving it. You had to sneak it out. Or someone gave it to you with the wrong protocol, which you were complicit in. And then you don't even know how many you have, and you've clearly hidden them from the public. You're the president of the United States. As was stated earlier by Governor Sununu, if at the very top there's no accountability, why should there be for Christian Saucier, the submariner who took photos in a submarine and didn't even show them to anybody, just had them, and they wanted to throw away the key on the guy? That's the two tiers of justice that exist. This is going to haunt the Biden campaign should he try to run, because this connects dots to Hunter. This connects dots to foreign interference or the foreign influence. And if anyone in the press outside of this network actually does any homework, the smoke is right there. The question is, will they do it? And Biden's political opponents know that weakness, and they'll continue to foment it.
Yeah, the worst part so far that legal experts have told me, Pete, is finding...
All right, troops, patriots and Pentagon enthusiasts, welcome to, an episode of Countdown to Hegseth Fired Day.
Makes me think of that Happy Gilmore segment. You know, when he talks about finding the dog? Like, you don't go home after an hour searching for the puppy. You gotta find that dog. You know, I mean, this is a leak of the most dramatic decision in the court that we all hold up, and they call it quits. Talk about a disincentive for an incentive for the next person to leak the one they don't like. But maybe they don't want it out because they know exactly who it is, just like all of these. Where are Hillary's 33,000 emails, Dan? We don't know. It's an unsolvable mystery. Add that to the board. When they don't want you to find out, they stop looking.
The only show where national security, it leaks faster than a White House intern on TikTok. Sure. Right, let's dive into the latest episode of As the Pentagon Turns. I'm sure you're familiar by now. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, game show host from Timu, the man who thought Signal was just a cool new ringtone, accidentally shared US military plans in the group chat. And who is in this chat? None other than journalist Jeffrey Goldberg, because when planning covert operations, it's best to include the press. Yeah, good idea.
There's an IG investigation into the Secretary of Defense's use of the Signal app.
Oh, is that, you're bringing that up again? Don't bring that up again. Your editor's probably. That's such a wasted story. So what else?
Chinese farmland.
You may recall in the aftermath, Hegseth Inner Circle unraveling faster than a cheap suit. Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, and Colin Carroll were all escorted out amid leak investigations. John Ulliott, the former Pentagon spokesman, was also asked to get out, resigned after a controversial DEI purge. It's like Hegseth's running a game of musical chairs, but with security clearances. Can't be long, Pete. Speaking of Ulliott, his directive to remove diversity content led to the temporary erasure, this is unbelievable, of icons like Jackie Robinson from Pentagon websites. What's going on? Because nothing says unity like deleting civil rights heroes. This move clearly, understandably, sparked outrage, and for me further highlighted the administration's commitment to inclusivity by excluding everyone.
Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. The fact that she wouldn't be held accountable for this, I think, blows the mind of anyone who's held our nation's secrets dear, who's had a top secret clearance like I have and others, who know that even one hiccup causes a problem, let alone a standard procedure like this.
The Pentagon is now in full meltdown mode. Joe Casper, Hegseth's chief of staff, is set to leave. Well, marking yet another departure, and officials described the situation at the Pentagon as a complete meltdown in the building. Tell you what, at this rate, the Pentagon might need to post job openings on Craigslist. It's getting that desperate.
President Trump said peace through strength will be brought back.
Amidst the chaos, Fox News remains Hegseth's loyal cheerleader, rolling out the red carpet, or perhaps the toilet paper for his shitty moves. Because when your national security strategy involves group chats and accidental leaks, you need all the PR help you can get.
The realistic way in which democracies die is that it's dismantled brick by brick, piece by piece. And she says that what we are seeing now with the lawlessness from this administration are really the canaries in the coal mine gasping for air. I'm paraphrasing here. But to me, that is why Kilmar Abrego Garcia's specific case, the case of the gentleman who's a makeup artist out of California who was also sent to that prison, that is why the 75% of the folks who have been sent, the men who have been sent there that don't have criminal records, that is why this is so important. Because if they could do it to them, if they could snatch students off the street without any pushback or recourse, they will do it to any of us. And to be very clear, it's going to be the people of color and vulnerable communities that are next in line.
I think that's right, and that's certainly part of why the African-American community is so strongly behind the supporting Kilmar.
Yeah, we're like, we are not for this.
Yeah, because as you just said, if they're going to whisk them away, what are they going to do with us?
This is a president who promised a fight, and he's delivering multiple main card matchups. In the first 90 days in office, the Trump White House has gone toe-to-toe with DEI, tariffs, law firms. He's tearing through the Department of Education and everything from early start programs to the Ivy Leagues. Judges and the court system are fueling his ire. Greenland, Canada, the Panama Canal, South Africa, and the United Nations. The media, red dye number 3, fluoride, USAID, the Kennedy Center, former officials from the Biden administration, officials from his own first term, AutoPen, military base names, pennies, pronouns, FEMA, flags, water pressure, national parks, paper straws, research programs, vaccines, President Zelensky, U.S. agency buildings, Governor Hochul, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, food safety inspections. That's just to name a few. And it is a list that is getting longer every day. And his base cannot wait for the next round. But what does it tell us about this presidency? Alyssa, he is taking on every fight under the book, and I can only imagine it's because he believes there are no consequences. And he might be right. But I think there are a lot of people who are worried. I mean, Karl Rove earlier this week said there's too much retaliation. He's distracting actually from his wins by fighting so much.
Donald Trump spent 4 years out of office basically fuming over losing the 2020 election and thinking and dreaming up what he would do when back in office. And he actually came up with an agenda. Some of it is Project 2025. Some of it is just simply things that he's tweeted about and talked about over the years. And he is doing it. He has staffed himself with loyalists who were told these are your specific things that within the agencies you work in, you're supposed to be doing. And he's not going to break this pace that he's working at, by the way. So we're almost 100 days in. Expect even more for the next 4 years ahead. And there's an element of retaliation for sure, which I do not think plays well even with those who elected him. But some of this is truly what he thinks his base wants to see in the government, whether it's what he's doing at HHS with RFK and with some of these sweeping changes, or even within the Department of Education. Some of it is aligned with what he ran on, campaigned on, and there's an element of the Republican Party is with him. But there is part of it that is pure Donald Trump vengeance, and that's where he gets himself in trouble.
Maybe go into the room and see if you can find that little slip. I wrote some things down. I don't know why you'd want to keep them, but we got a little biography of him. Not a very innocent guy. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in the spirit of Easter Sunday.
While we're on the subject, right? So you're talking about Abrego Garcia. Is that the one? Yeah. Is an illegal alien MS-13 gang member and foreign terrorist. This comes out of the State Department and very legitimate sources. I mean, I assume I'm just giving you what they handed to me, but this was supposed to be certified stuff. In 2019, Garcia was issued a deportation order. 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13, which is a gang that may be even worse than Tren de Aragua, and maybe worse. They kill people with knives because it's more painful. Very famous for the knifing and killing of 2 young 16-year-old girls walking to school one day, and they sliced them up into little pieces and killed them. That's MS-13. And 2 separate judges affirmed Garcia was a member of MS-13. When Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money pouring out, an MS-13 gang symbol that he was driving with 2 other known violent MS-13 gang members, 2 of the most violent members that we know of in the MS-13 gang of thugs. In 2022, Garcia was stopped by the Tennessee Highway Patrol and was found to be transporting 7 people from Texas to Maryland, and he had no driver's license. He was driving violently. In 2020 and 2021, Garcia's wife filed for a protective order from him and said he was violent and abusive and really scary, including allegations that he punched and scratched her on the eye, left her bleeding after throwing her laptop on the floor at her, ripped her shirt, and ripped off her shorts. He then grabbed her arm, leaving very severe marks. Garcia's wife also wrote in court, "At this point, I am afraid to be close to him. I just don't want to be close. I have multiple photos and videos, how violent he can be, and all of the bruises that he's left on me." She just couldn't get anywhere near him. This is the man that the Democrats are wanting us to fly back from El Salvador to be a happily ensconced member of the USA family. Isn't it a shame? And by the way, I've been hit pretty hard by fake shows, fake news, MSDNC in particular, where they talk about how evil I am, that this man would be thrown out of our country. This man is according to certified statements that we get, is a very violent person. And they want this man to be brought back into our country where he can be free and to stay as a happily Maryland, they call him the Maryland man. He's a Maryland father. No, this is a violent person. Who they don't talk about is that wonderful angel mom who lost her daughter.
Okay, as the president continues to talk, we're going to fact check some of what he says. I, of course, want to talk about Abrego Garcia, and you're going to help us with that, Priscilla. But I do want to just say one thing. We've heard a couple of times the president talk about gas prices being $1.98 a gallon. According to AAA, they're $3.16 a gallon right now. Okay, let's talk about these statements that he said are verified about Abrego Garcia being a member of MS-13. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm. So this is all in the court documents. I have reviewed the same things that I believe the president has reviewed based off how he described them. So real quickly, on the judges and MS-13 ties, what he's referring to there is 2 rulings by immigration judges when he was taken into custody by ICE and he had been asking for bond. Now, in that scenario, immigration judges often default to what ICE tells them. In this case, that law enforcement had a brush with Abrego Garcia at a Home Depot parking lot and that they had made the allegation that he was tied with MS-13. The immigration judges in both of those rulings did not conclusively find that he was part of MS-13. It did not matter for them to deny him bond. He also mentioned the domestic violence petition by his wife in 2021. I have received a statement from his wife who says that that was a difficult time in their marriage, that no marriage is perfect, and that they went to counseling after the fact. That is, by the way, a complaint that is typically not provided to the public unless shared by the victim. This was something that was blasted out by the administration. And I will also note that the federal judge more recently here in Maryland had asked the Justice Department to provide any evidence whatsoever to substantiate that he is part of MS-13. In her order, she says in a footnote, no evidence was provided to that effect, despite her repeated asks to put this in court record, not in the public forum. But as we noted, because we're part of Inside Politics here, he was talking about how he won on immigration, and so it explains a lot as to why he's taking on this case.
Except, I mean, obviously he won. Immigration was part of it. But if you look at any exit poll, it was the economy, which he's definitely having trouble with. Real quick, Alex, he did talk about Rubio's comments